Hey, this is the BreakTime podcast. I'm Jake, and as a pudding lover, I know, and I'm here to tell you the secret that vanilla pudding with bananas is better than banana pudding. Unrelated, here's Ryan and Eric. What's happening?
Hi. I have less of an opinion on that. I don't really care for banana pudding or vanilla pudding. Actually, is banana pudding just like the bananas integrated into the pudding?
I have no idea. They're not real food. They come from a magical box that's with powder. It's unrelated to real food.
Oh, this is like Jello pudding.
Yeah,
that you're
Jello
talking
brand
about.
pudding.
Okay.
Why would we introduce after the pudding?
Because the pudding is more important.
No, well, he was trying to clickbait people. People, for some reason, I don't know how you clickbait with a podcast, but that feels like it's the way to do it.
Pudding?
Yeah, man.
Is you talk about, so you have to rope them in case they click.
They
They're
come
like,
here.
I just talked about banana pudding.
That's
Do
it.
people
This is
come
the
here for
pudding
banana
podcast.
pudding? Is that what our whole podcast is about?
Yes.
Hey, it's random. It shows how random we are, you know?
So random,
XDDD,
fun,
classic
quirky.
Scorpio.
Yeah. Apparently you're the only Scorpio in existence.
Yeah, the only one in the world, really. But no, the best banana pudding, you get Nilla wafers, you get whipped cream. It can be Cool Whip, that's fine, but whipped cream's better. And you get vanilla pudding with banana slices, and you layer it like a lasagna, alternating those things. That's how you make the best banana pudding dish.
That doesn't sound bad, actually.
Oh yeah, it's excellent.
Are you talking
And
about
banana
the
pudding with
kind-
bananas is worse.
The kind of pudding that's more solid or more like liquidy, like yogurt?
You talking about Japanese pudding, which is different from the other places?
I'll be honest, I
outside of
only
Japan's?
know Jello brand box pudding. To me, it's fairly solid and pudding consistency.
I see.
It's a liquid that holds us together pretty well.
It's
but
probably
there's
about
also
the consistency of yogurt.
the solid pudding that you think is called pudding is actually called flan, and that is what Japan thinks pudding is, and they call it pudding. Pudding, or Purin if you're going to Romanize it.
I see.
It's also the name of Jigglypuff in Japanese, the Pokemon.
That's fun.
Jelly
It's probably strawberry flavored.
I don't know why it's called that. I think it's just because it's fluffy or
'Cause
something.
they're canonically edible, I guess.
I don't think they are.
All Pokemon are edible.
That's probably
Are
true,
they?
to be honest.
Even the ghost ones?
Yeah, and even the steel ones.
All of them.
Yeah, Eric. You just kind of got how are you going to defend yourself against these claims? How are you going to support your claim that all Pokemon are edible when the evidence presented is steel types and
Dude,
ghosts?
I bet Steelix tastes delicious.
Macargos are 18,000 degrees
Oh yeah,
Fahrenheit.
Macargo isn't edible at all.
It adds to
It's
the spicy
18,000
flavor.
degrees.
The spicy.
18,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Hotter than this. It's twice the temperature of the sun, or approaching that.
I mean,
You say that's edible?
so the way
If it cools
Pokemon,
off.
the way Pokemon is designed is like they have like all their survival instincts like for each Pokemon, right? So the Pokemons are like
Okay.
always predators of each other or of possibly humans. For example, one of which I know is Vanillish. I forget which evolution.
Vanillux is the third one of that brand of that line.
I don't remember which specific evolution the Pokédex talked about it, but one of the vanilla ice cream looking Pokemon said it looked like vanilla to think of it like one of those white vans. That think of like one of those white
It
vans.
abducts children.
Yeah, it entices children
Oh,
with
God.
candy, but instead of candy, it's ice cream. I think they usually prey at like vending machines or something. I think that's
What the hell?
That's
Is
actually
this
horrifying.
True? Okay, now I gotta go look at the Vanillux line.
I thought you were going to tell me about, like, the Tropius, the, like,
The fruit
leaf
that hangs
thing
on its
with
neck.
fruits on its neck, and I'm like, you're gonna tell me you could eat the fruit, and I'm like, yeah, I got it, I'm ready for this fact, but then you told me a very different fact that I was not ready for.
Okay.
I believe. I want to look at the Pokédex entry too, but this is what
It's
I
probably
remember.
Vanillite. I would assume it's I don't know.
It's-
Is it Vanillite?
It's one of the
Or is it
vanilla ice cream
Vanillish?
ones.
Let's see. The temperature of their breath is minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit. They create snow crystals and make snowfall in areas around them. This Pokemon formed from icicles bathed in energy from the morning sun. It sleeps buried in snow.
Huh.
Where the heck is this?
No,
Unable to
I
survive.
swear I've seen this somewhere. I know I
All
read
right, I'm
this
looking
somewhere.
at Vanillish now because Vanillite has not borne any fruit. Has not borne any fruit. I don't know which one. I think it hasn't borne. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Okay, where is it? I can't even find the place to click to actually go to the next Pokemon. There we go. Vanillish. Where is it? Habitat, Ice Age. It conceals itself from enemy eyes by creating many small ice particles and hiding among them. They cool down the surrounding air and create ice particles, which they use to freeze their foes. I see nothing on this Pokemon attempting to lure children with its ice cream body.
I read it. I know I read it somewhere. Is my life a lie?
Currently, you are a big ass liar, Eric.
My life
Eric
is a
actually
lie.
works at Nintendo and leaked the plot of the next
No.
Pokemon movie. It's horror themed. They're going a different direction.
I would love a Pokemon horror movie. There's so many possible ones you could go with.
But doesn't it make sense? Wasn't I convincing?
I mean,
It
got
felt
us to
real.
look at it.
You literally clickbaited him. You made him even more than a click. You Google baited him.
Yeah. I know for a fact there are disturbing Pokemon entries though. I believe that it's Phantump. Phantump is a Pokemon that is the soul of a child who died in the forest. That is literally the Pokedex entry for Phantump.
Really cool, dude.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Game Freak.
But the thing is that Phantump are all, like, abundant in this area, so it makes me think that there are just a lot of kids who died in this forest, and that's kind of disturbing.
Hate to
I know.
freaking see it, man.
I know Yamask. Yamask is also another spooky one. It used to be a human, but it died, and then the mask it carried is like its original face.
Yeah, I do remember that as well.
That's awful.
The other thing about this is that are there a lot of ghost Pokemon? They're either the souls of dead Pokemon or they're the souls of humans, which is kind of confusing to me. I never really would think that would be the case.
Oh, I mean, they are literally a ghost type, which is, like, intuitively and by definition, like, associated with death, but it really... You're not supposed to, like, give us the full ramifications of this, Nintendo. Like, just say they're spooky, I don't know.
Yeah, they are spook, but how do you make things spooky? You make them the souls of dead things, like children.
I don't know about that one, Big Hoss. You could just make
That's
them, like,
how it
purple
works.
and pointy or something. That's already
That's what they did with the
spooky enough.
first one. The first one was like a shadow creature, and that made sense. But they had to dip their feet, toes, their fingers. They had to
They power
pull
corrupt
stuff
the
from
ghosts and
places.
ghostliness.
Yeah.
They're like, what's scarier than something that looks like a ghost? Actual ghost.
Exactly, and that's why you have Phantump now. I don't know, there are probably other ghost Pokemon that are kind of similar.
Yeah, it's usually mostly ghosts and psychic Pokemon that have like the more scary Pokédex entries. I remember one. I think it's either Kadabra or Alakazam, where it was like it used to be a human with psychic powers, and one day just woke up as a Kadabra.
Yeah, suddenly they were a Kadabra.
Yeah, all the Kadabras in the world.
One day he went to sleep, and when he woke up, he was a Kadabra. Whoa!
His cartridge was haunted?
Yeah, but no, I think that the most horrifying Pokedex entry is the fact that Magcargo's body temperature is 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Literally an Earth-ending event.
Yes,
But he's
that
a snail.
Pokemon existing is an Earth-ending event.
Oh wait, no, there is a Pokemon that likes to kidnap children. Wasn't it the balloon one? Drifloon?
Yeah, Drifloon. Drifloon likes to carry
it
children
looks
away.
like a balloon, and then a kid grabs it, and then they fly away.
It goes away.
It takes their soul, or it just takes them away.
That
It just
reminds
takes
me.
all of them, soul included.
Yeah, there was I believe there is a quest in Pokemon Arceus where you have to find a kid's lost Drifloon, one of them.
Uh-huh.
And then if you know like the Pokédex entry behind it, you know this kid is screwed.
Damn.
Yeah.
This kid's we're looking for this kid's lost Drifloon, but we know one day that kid's gonna disappear with his Drifloon.
It's gone, dude.
He's gone.
It's fine. He tamed it. It's not. It's no longer
It's
has
his.
that
He uses it
wild
to
instinct.
abduct other children, not him.
Yeah. For all you know, this kid is actually the reason why that myth exists in the first place.
Yeah, it's actually the heir to, like, the Helsing family. He's gotten one and uses it for their family's deeds, you know?
Yeah. And then that becomes the precursor that, you know, every single stereotype about Drifloon.
Yeah, they all think of that one.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, remember that one time that Drifloon, you know, carried a kid off? It's like, yeah, stay away from Drifloon. Little did they know that it was a result of human
It was
manipulation.
actually psychopath child Tommy, or whatever.
Youngster
Tommy.
Tommy.
Yeah, youngster Tommy Helsing is actually the reason.
Youngster Tommy wants to battle. He sends out Drifloon, and then he
And
just
goes
carries
after
other
the
kids
fucking
around.
traitor.
Oh no.
Yeah, I hate to see it, man.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know. Pokemon's weird, but also I'm not a fan of Pokemon anymore. It's kind of just it's died out on me. I stopped buying the games, I stopped playing them.
Yeah, I was always
know.
the biggest fan of the games, and the way I kind of rationalize is I didn't really play any turn-based RPG games or anything even remotely like that while I played Pokemon, and I thought Pokemon was really fun and it was cool that there was like this unique battle system and there was exploration and items. But then later in life it occurred to me that was a genre, and there's a lot of games actually just like it, and then I played other ones, and I liked them significantly more than Pokemon.
Yep, that's kind of how it goes. The other thing is that Pokemon has kind of just been the same game over the last couple decades.
Yeah, it's
as long as the game's been out.
they're all very similar to each other.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's like, I can clearly identify that all my love of it is nostalgia, because I still strictly like the ones on the Game Boy Advance best, because those are the ones I played when I was a kid.
I'm pretty sure that essentially at this point Pokemon is just resting on its laurels and relying on nostalgia to get people to buy the next copy of the game.
I mean, that new one was pretty unique, but it was... I don't know if more like it are gonna happen, you know what I mean? That one that was like kind of an action game.
Yeah.
Arceus, is that the one?
Mm-hmm. I think that was the one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that one is pretty unique, and it's pretty cool that they're doing something different, but it's just like... It's still really weird that it took them that long to do it. And I heard that game had a lot of problems, and honestly, it's like... A lot of the people I hear talking about how good it is are primarily excited that Game Freak, like, made a different game. And they're like, but the next one will be really good. It's like... If it was just a random game dev that made that game, the game would have been a flop. People would have not have liked it. They're just excited because they have such lower expectations for Game Freak.
That's what's kind of dejecting about this whole thing. Is that people have essentially been desensitized by Pokemon. People who like Pokemon have essentially just been desensitized by Pokemon, so they can just sort of, you know, tick some kind of thing, like one increment forward, and suddenly it's like, oh my god,
yeah, it's like,
a completely different game. It's so much better.
How do I put it? It's like the theming and setting of Pokemon is like so good that you could make a really shit game and it's still good. And you have all these. It's like McDonald's giving Happy Meals to people since they're like 3-year-olds, you know. You have an adult who then gets that big cheeseburger when they're an adult, and it's like it's the greatest thing because they had it as a kid, and nothing else tastes like it. Even though there's things that are strictly better than it for the same price, you know. It's like
McDonald's is very.
It's like fast food places are not actually that unique from each other. It's just whichever one you had as a kid is the one you like. And it's kind of like that with Pokemon. I feel like it's like a lot of people just... Pokemon was so popular when it was a new game.
You kind of just latch on to whatever...
Yeah, man.
You just kind of latch on to whatever you had during your formative years. And that also makes me think that is the reason why people were so adamant, especially back in the day when Sega and Nintendo were kind of at each other's throats, why people... were so adamant about the console that they had, and why that kind of carried over when people became adults, is because they had that console growing up. It's what they played
as a kid, yeah.
But the thing is that it goes even deeper than that, because these kids didn't really have a choice as to which system.
Yeah, it's just
they
whichever
could
one their
get.
parents randomly
It's just whichever
bought.
one. Yeah, it's whichever one their parents bought. So it's not like they had any choice in the matter. They just like it because that's the one they had.
I mean,
and
actually,
they
there's
didn't
a
want...
solid chance that they saw a commercial for one of the
Possibly.
characters, and they're like, "That's the one."
I think
And then
it's
they
like
got mad later.
It probably is actually rooted in a feeling of insecurity that the other thing is actually better than the
Yeah,
thing
they just
you
gotta
have.
stick with their choice.
Yeah, so you have to double down on your own choice to make it like I'm really to the point where you actually convince yourself single-handedly by yourself. You just convince yourself that your thing is better.
It has to be
and
better.
that-
I've never been
that
wrong
just
in my life.
happens. Yeah, it has to be better because I have it.
Yeah. Why would I have
Otherwise,
the
I'm going to
worst
be
thing?
jealous and mad.
There's no way I could have the worst thing.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's very much the same thing that comes with Pokemon, because I guess the idea that has kind of plagued Pokemon in a certain sense, but also is one of its strong suits because it is child-oriented.
It's so good at convincing a child it's their favorite thing. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I've talked to people a good bit younger than me that have also played Pokemon since a kid, and it was like, the first Pokemon game that they played, right, was, one of these ones on the 3DS, which I thought were significantly worse than the ones I played as a kid, but to them it's still, the Pokemon's the greatest thing ever. They talk about how they played all the Pokemon games, they learn how to do emulation just to play all the Pokemon games, and they're having a great time. And I feel like people turn, 20, and they either, at that point, it's locked or it releases. It's like they're a Pokemon fan for life, or suddenly they just don't like it at all anymore.
And I feel that's the thing is that, you know how, that there's that mentality of every single Pokemon game could be someone's first Pokemon game.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just latch on to whatever creatures are prominent in that. I kind of feel that, because I know for a fact that a lot of people, we call them Gen 1ers, because they're essentially just Gen 1, what would you call them, diehards?
It was just their first game, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why, that's why Pokemon constantly appeals to all the Pokemon from Gen 1, because those are I don't know if they're the biggest demographic, but they're definitely the loudest at the very least.
Probably because they're the
But
they're the oldest. They've been around the longest, or maybe when did it first come out? When did
1999, I think.
1999. So yeah, so they're in their mid-20s around now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But that's the thing, is that I don't care for most of the Gen 1 Pokemon. It's because it wasn't the game that I played first. I care more about the Gen 3 Pokemon more than I care about the Gen 1 Pokemon. I don't really care for Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur. It's all about Swampert, Sceptile, and Blaziken, man.
Yeah, I mean, my first game was the remake of Gen 1. So it's I love a lot of the Gen 1 Pokemon, and my favorite Gen 2 and 3 Pokemon are the random ones that were put in the remake.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it's still my favorite Pokemon game, even though a lot of people really don't like that game. But it's just whatever you played as a kid is the one that you like the best,
Yeah, and I guess that'll just carry over, and it'll just constantly make things. It'll affect what you like in the future.
It's just how people work, I suppose.
Whatever you were forced to like as a kid is what you'll like in the future.
Oh yeah, I mean, the entire reason I bought that game is because that cartridge was red. It was in the remember those little GameStop jewelry cases they would have with the loose cartridges in it? I saw it in the loose cartridge, and I knew my Game Boy Advance I had as a kid was red, and Fire Red was also red. It matched my Game Boy. I did not know what Pokemon was. I bought it because it was red.
That makes sense. That's the thing that I never really understood why other games didn't do. They didn't get colorful cartridge
I don't know.
parts. It's only the Pokemon games that got it.
It might be a special production privilege, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's only the expected to be big seller ones that are different. Because only in really all of Nintendo anything, the only things I remember ever being alt colors were the Pokemon games, and every once in a while there'd be a Mario game that'd have a red case or something.
Yeah, I feel like the cartridges for Nintendo games have been getting progressively more disappointing. I know for Game Boy, you get like a huge rectangular cartridge, and I remember my Pokemon one. It was like shiny and sparkly for like the version I got. I think I got Ruby, so like red. It looked like a ruby, right?
It was translucent
Yeah, it
and
looked
red.
like a ruby to me.
I
when
had
was a
emerald,
kid.
so.
But then now,
It's like, oh, it's so.
but then now in like a Nintendo Switch era, I still like getting physical copies of games because I like physically owning something instead of like getting it digitally. But the game boxes and the cartridges themselves, the cartridge is so tiny. There's like no character behind it. It's just another game cartridge with a game
but it
on.
takes up less space.
The Game Boy one was so much cooler, even though it was bigger. And then
I thought the cool thing about like the DS was that the chip was the game cards were so small, and that and then the slot was spring loaded. That was a cool thing about it, because before you had to plug that thing in.
Yeah, it's like click click. You 100% knew it was in. I had lock it in.
Yeah, heck yeah, and that was what was revolutionary about the Nintendo DS to me. It's like, oh my god,
yeah,
this
I mean,
is the future.
I think a lot of it too is like. Some study that Nintendo did probably found out that how the cartridge looks matters so much less now for sales. And I mean, games still cost $60. Games have only become more expensive to make, and they're still costing $60, so they're like, it would look cooler if we had a big impressive cartridge, but it's cheaper to not.
yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I guess things are also moving to digital, so it does matter less.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Physical
another gripe I have with the new Nintendo game boxes is that while the inside does look nicer, there's like new pretty pictures and the nice graphic for the game inside, but it's missing the instruction booklet, which I used to always
Yeah,
love.
you have to go on the internet.
I always loved to read those whenever I got a new game. When it was for like the Wii or like the Game Boy or GameCube, they always had like an instruction booklet that came with the game. But now for the Nintendo Switch, it's just not there anymore.
Yeah, that was my very favorite. See, when I was a kid, for most of my childhood, I was not allowed to play any video games unless it was a Friday night or a weekend. If it was a school night, I could not play any video games. So I would get this game sometime during the week. If it was a weekend, I'd just play it immediately, right? But during the weekday, when I could not play the games, if it was a new game or a game I already owned, I would live vicariously reading those game instructions, because that was like the closest thing I could get to it, you know?
Yeah, that's what I did too. I remember looking at all of the I remember, for some reason, the one that stands out to me is Virtua Fighter. Mainly because Virtua Fighter, the story is in the instruction booklet, and the game is literally just the Virtua... Because, okay, let's get into... Shall we talk about Virtua Fighter? Is it okay to segue into Virtua Fighter?
I'll allow you to talk about Virtua Fighter. I'm feeling nice.
Okay. So, well, I guess this is kind of going into the nostalgia hole. But, so... I don't know which one. I'm pretty sure it was probably Virtua Fighter 4. Same kind of deal. I wasn't allowed to play games on school nights and things like that. And so I would have to read the instruction booklets. And I remember distinctly getting Virtua Fighter 4 after enjoying Virtua Fighter 4 at a relative's house or something. In multiple places. Multiple different relatives had Virtua Fighter 4.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a copy of Virtua Fighter 4 because I didn't want to have to keep borrowing my relative's copy of Virtua Fighter 4, because otherwise I felt like, well, maybe they want to play it, even though most likely they didn't really care, and I was just much more into Virtua Fighter than they were. But, eventually I got my own copy of Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, and I was not allowed to play it yet, and it was like, oh my god, so cool, and it's the 4th World Fighting Tournament, or whatever Sega decided to call it, and there was 2 new characters, and you got to read
through all the book, learn all the characters, look at all that art.
Yeah, and so, for Virtua Fighter specifically, because there is no actual story in the game, the entire game is essentially just the fighting, and that's it, because, well, let's face it, the Virtua Fighter characters aren't exactly very brimming with personality. They're kind of just avatars for you to fight with. The story is in the book, and that is essentially it. And sometimes the story beats that happen, and the thing is that the story essentially is a follow-up to what happens after the events of the previous tournament. Because, usually it ends with, and they go, since it's Virtua Fighter 4, and they set off for the 4th World Fighting Tournament.
Oh, yeah. And then you playing is the tournament.
Yeah. And so, I remember learning about all the lore of these different characters, and some of it just felt kind of stupid because, things are obviously going to fail if they decide to do a Virtua Fighter 5, which they did. So they're just like various things about characters who are all like, this character woke up, or this person lost their memories, or this person is on the verge of dying, or something like that. Or they do something, or they're going to set off into if they're a new character, usually it's like the booklet sets up their motivation as to why they're joining the tournament. For some reason, Virtua Fighter 4 introduced a lot of assassin characters. I don't know why, and by a lot I mean 2. Of the 4 characters that were added from Virtua Fighter 4 and Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, 2 of them are assassins.
I mean, are there any other assassin characters that weren't introduced in 4?
There's 2 that weren't. One of them is an amnesiac military girl who's like one of my favorite fighting game characters of all time, simply on visuals alone, because, hardly any personality, but the way she fights and like the couple voice lines that she has is pretty cool. Vanessa Lewis. It's a very cool character. She uses Vale Tudo. She's voiced by one of my favorite voice actors who has a lot of Sega projects under her belt, Donna Burke. And she's still voice acting to this day, and that game is what made me a fan of her. And then they decided to not use her anymore in Virtua Fighter 5, and then I got pissed because I'm like, why does her voice sound different? But anyway,
sad face.
She is not one of the assassin characters. The 2, and then I mained quote unquote. I didn't even play online against anyone until Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, which is years after the original 5.
You don't have to be presumptuous about what maining something means. If you're 5 years old and you play a fighting game once a week and don't know any moves, your favorite character is your main. You don't have to...
I guess so. That means that everyone at some point in their life during like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, their main was Kirby, because I'm pretty sure a lot of kids were just Kirby mains.
Oh, 100%.
I just been called out.
And if they were an edgy kid, then if they were an edgy kid, they were Sonic mains. That's essentially the 2 characters that a lot of like little kids use. Yeah, the only 2 characters are maybe Link, but usually it's Kirby or Sonic.
The first Smash Bros. Game I played was Melee. Yeah, I was definitely a Kirby main.
Oh my god.
Mine was Brawl, and I did play Kirby.
God damn! See, I'm completely right. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm not questioning you. I'm just reviewing.
Yeah. The thing is, I started with Ike though, and then when I first got the game, I had no idea how to play the game. The first match I went into was a CPU match. I somehow managed to fight against 3 other CPUs. They were all on easy, and the only move I knew how to do was his special move, the one where you stand still and press B, and he sticks his sword into the ground and a pillar of flames comes
See, that's his coolest move.
And that's the only move I knew how to do. Until...
On Kirby, the only move I knew was hammer and rock.
Yeah, until I read the instruction booklet that came with the game.
Very nice.
It is when I learned...
Going back to instruction booklets.
It is when I learned there are normal attacks if you press the A button. And the attacks change when you push directions while pushing the A button.
But they're not special.
Why
would you want to do
I
a
know,
normal
exactly.
attack?
So I just went back to the fire pillar anyways. Because it was stronger and it looked cooler. Even though it was...
My big reason I played Kirby is because I didn't know how to do recovery moves. So I just thought, he must be the best character. He has a bunch of jumps. He's like the only one who could ever get back on the stage.
You can't knock Kirby off the
he's
stage.
Literally
it's impossible.
invulnerable. I probably also would have liked Jigglypuff, but I don't remember playing Jigglypuff. Maybe I didn't unlock Jigglypuff.
Jigglypuff doesn't have a hammer.
No, you see, this is the elementary schooler meta. It's different from the actual Smash meta because...
No, I mean, I probably saw Jigglypuff, and Jigglypuff did not have a hammer, so that's just worse.
I also remember Jigglypuff... Are you talking about Brawl or Melee?
I'm talking about Melee.
Was it... I think it might be for both the games. Wasn't Jigglypuff a hidden character?
Oh yeah, I think it was either I didn't unlock
least.
Jigglypuff, or I played Jigglypuff, and I'm like, no hammer, I'm out.
Where's the hammer?
It's like, why would I pick Kirby with no hammer, dude?
Yeah. It's a very interesting thing to think about, though, is the elementary schooler meta versus the actual game meta, because things are different. Because if there's a different knowledge base, different things become very good due to preconceived notions, or due to like a lack of knowledge in certain areas.
When I played Melee, it was me, my sister, and our neighbors. And every once in a while there'd be a friend or two that come over. I played Kirby. Kirby was very popular. A lot of people played Kirby. My sister, I think she played Ice Climbers. I actually liked Ice Climbers because their voices were funny and they were cute. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's true.
Ice Climbers.
I knew a couple people who played Bowser. Bowser was popular. I remember one of my neighbors would always complain that I didn't have Game & Watch unlocked. And every once in a while would bring his memory card over so he could play Game & Watch. And a couple people played Samus, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe someone played Fox.
People play the characters they
Yeah,
like.
I mean, it's like actually the only characters I ever remember being picked. Genuinely.
Mm-hmm. I don't know when I started picking Marth, because at some point I ended up really liking Marth.
Yeah, I think my entire time playing Melee, I don't think I ever saw anyone pick Marth or Ike. Wait, not Marth or Roy.
I was the
sorry.
Marth guy, yeah.
I also might
definitely
not
the
have
Marth
had Roy
guy.
unlocked, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Even when my brother tried to say, like, why would you pick Marth when Lucina's strictly better? And I'm like, because I have an emotional connection to this guy.
Marth cooler.
Yeah, Marth is so much cooler. But he didn't get it. He's like, but he's so inconsistent and kind of random. And I'm like, but he's got so much finesse.
I mean, I only started caring about, like, I guess strategy or winning. No, that's disingenuous. When I was a kid, I cared about winning, and the way I'd win with Kirby is using the hammer a lot. I guess when I started strategizing about winning, or like caring about character strength or anything, even still, my favorite character in Brawl was Ganondorf. I just liked him because he made loud noises. Yeah, no, literally that reason. Like, I guess, yeah, just younger me, it's like, damn, this is the best character. He's loud. I at that time had still never played a Legend of Zelda game, so I had like no connection. I literally didn't know who he was, but I'm like, holy shit, he's loud and makes big bonks. I gotta play him, dude.
My god, how many characters, or how many game franchises have people gotten into because that character was in Smash, actually? Because that's like the meme, right? Is, it's Ryu from Fortnite, or it's Ryu from Smash.
From Smash. I only learned what Xenoblade was from Smash.
Yeah, I didn't know about Xenoblade until Shulk was in Smash either.
I think it would be disingenuous for me to say that I learned Fire Emblem from Smash, because I saw the characters in Smash, didn't know who they were, and did not learn. Because I was uninterested in them in Smash. I learned that later and unrelated.
Well, the other thing is that they were in Melee, they were actually debating taking Roy and Marth out when localizing Smash, because no one knew those characters.
They thought no one who... I guess there just weren't games, so...
No, there weren't. The first one...
So they're just like, who would care about a franchise that has no games?
Yeah, the first one that came out, I forget the name, it's the Blazing Blade? Yeah, the Blazing Blade. Or it's just called Fire Emblem in the West, because it was the first Fire Emblem game that was localized to the West. But the Fire Emblem is just as old a franchise as, say, I don't know, it's not as old as Zelda, but it's up there, right? But it just had never been localized to the West. And it's because Marth and Roy were in Smash and people were interested in them, and they're like, who are these people from? That they ended up localizing the Blazing Blade, and that became people's first Fire Emblem games.
Yeah, that's cool.
Funnily enough, that is not Roy's game. It is his dad's game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's him, his dad Ellawood, and his friends Hector and Lynn. And that was the first Fire Emblem game that people played.
Roy's dad was Ellawood?
Yeah, Roy's dad is Ellawood.
What?
Yeah!
I don't know what this says about my level of Fire Emblem exposure, but out of those names, the only one I recognized was Hector.
Oh my god, Roy's last name is Ellawood?
No!
Wait, what?
Ellawood's Ellawood's last name is not Ellawood.
Ellawood?
Wait, what's that?
There's even at the end of Blazing Blade, there is this because the thing is that Binding Blade, Roy's game, is actually the one that came before Blazing Blade, and so Blazing Blade is essentially a prequel that came after Binding Blade, and it's about Ellawood and Hector and Lyn. And there's an actual scene at the end of Blazing Blade where Ellawood and Hector bring their children. Ellawood is like, "Here's my son Roy," and Hector is like, "Here is my daughter, I forget her name, Lilina, that's her name." And it's like, oh my god, those are the characters from the previous game, so this one was all...
God.
Yeah, so at the end of the game, you're like, oh my god, Ellawood is Roy's dad?
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Dang, I wish I knew that sooner.
Ellawood is Roy's dad, and Hector is Lilina's dad.
Man, this really makes me want to go back and play those old Fire Emblem games.
Yeah,
You know,
but
honestly,
what was I gonna say?
I really think I might have played Smash Bros. Melee before I ever played a Mario game. So I actually might have been introduced to Mario through Smash.
Is this Mario from Smash?
No, really! Yeah, I think, because my first Mario game I ever played was I had a Game Boy Advance cartridge that was 2 games on it. It had a Super Mario Bros. 3, and the arcade one with the POW block, I forget what it's called.
I think that's just Mario Brothers, right?
Mario Brothers, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that was the first one I played, and I may have done that after playing Melee. Yeah, so I learned who is this Mario character from Super Smash Bros. It's crazy.
I don't know who Mario is.
Yeah, why is he in the center of the portrait? Why is he's the main character?
It's actually funny how few of the characters I think I had played a game from, because when I was a kid, my favorite thing was I only know Sony stuff because I had a PS1 and a PS2 when I was a really young kid, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So I like my favorite, my favorite game character was Crash, Mr. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So, like I'd probably seen the other characters, I'm sure, but I don't know if I ever played like any of their games before Melee, because that was like one of the first GameCube games I had. Actually, no, the first GameCube game I had. I knew who Kirby was. Not because I played a Kirby game, because I played Air Ride. I had Air Ride and a Monkey Ball game were my first GameCube games.
I wonder if you were thinking, where's I? Why
I
isn't
was
he
probably
in Smash?
peeved.
Yeah.
Except I was a Gone fan, so I wanted Gone.
It's like, why isn't Gone
Yeah, why isn't Gone in Melee, dude? This is terrible.
Yeah. But I wanted to talk a bit more. Are you guys aware of the Guilty Gear X2 Accent Core Plus R middle school meta?
I have been keeping up with that.
I saw
I love how it
changes.
changes.
That's the funniest shit. I love it.
Yeah,
The Zap
I haven't
player
watched
is
the
my
new one
favorite.
actually. Yeah, I haven't watched the new one, but I remember at the beginning that apparently
I watched both of them. It was great.
Mhm. Potemkin is really good in the middle school meta, but not of the reasons why you'd think Potemkin is good. It's literally just because his normals are really big.
Yeah, it's because he could hit the slash or heavy slash button or whatever, and his arm is the screen.
Yeah. Because no one in that class can do
specials.
class where they play, no one can do specials, no one can do motion inputs.
No one can do specials, and it's hard to jump, and no one blocks.
Yeah, and so Potemkin just becomes amazing. And I believe did the teacher play Faust?
He does play Faust.
Yeah, the teacher played Faust, so they think he's good.
Oh yeah, they think that Faust is really good, yeah.
I believe the top tiers they have recently ranked it are Faust, Zappa, because the kid picked up the game or something. He had the game.
Yeah, he figured out how to use
the game,
Zappa.
and he learned how to use
actually
Zappa.
got the game.
And he was destroying everyone else with Zappa. So Zappa's on the top, along with Potemkin and Faust, who are where the teacher plays Faust, and Potemkin just has huge buttons that do lots of damage.
Yeah, that's great.
But there is an aspiring Robo-Kai player who also got the game. And was giving the Zappa a challenge. So now Robo-Kai went up in the rankings.
Oh my god, this meta's amazing.
God, it's there'd be no way to enforce it, and it would be like hard to like genuinely happen. And I don't know if it would be nearly as fun to be in it, but like part of me wishes I could recreate, like, how Melee and Brawl felt back in the day when I played them, when no one, like, looked up or knew anything.
Yeah.
Because like, in Melee, everyone thought that the best characters were Kirby and Bowser. Bowser, because he hit really hard, and Kirby, because he could get back on stage.
I mean, I would say that it's not non-existent, but I guess it's the nature of which us being fighting game players to a certain extent kind of analyze and like figure things out, that we kind of have this baseline knowledge. But I don't know if we would call it a vacuum, because essentially when people just sort of play, they perceive as different things as being good.
Yeah.
And one of those big things is the Fire Emblem characters' counterattacks are generally seen as pretty good, because they essentially make you invincible and you hit them away. The thing is that, you know, from our perspective and a lot of Smash players' perspective, counters are pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And so it definitely exists in some regards somewhere. It's just that we're not as exposed to it because we simply can't think that way anymore, maybe.
Yeah, I guess I don't mean it in, like, the context if I want to be wrong about it. I mean, it's like, I guess the way to realistically do this was, it'd be really fun with, like, a mid-sized group of people. I mean, I guess part of the fantasy is knowing enough people that would just pick up and play fighting games in my life. Like, picking up, like, a really old arcade fighting game that, like, just doesn't have concrete Googleable resources. And just seeing what happens over time, you know?
Or we could try to do something where we just play in a vacuum. We don't look anything up.
I mean, it's kind of fun to think about that, but I think about in that situation, it might be incredibly frustrating, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the kind of thing that's way more fun to fantasize about than, like, actually be in.
It's possible, because, I mean, us having played fighting games before, it's kind of been, we can't exactly do that anymore. There's a bunch of stuff where we're kind of inclined to just look stuff up, because now we can. We're like, okay, what's the frame data on this? Is this punishable? Because, like, that was, okay, also, I guess
the
this
problem
is a way
like, I think about this, like, an example of a game that I recently started to learn to play. If when we were first playing Plus R, if I literally never looked anything up, I would have actually just, like... I would have literally never enjoyed playing or had any good experience as, like, Bridget or Robo-Kai, who were, like, the characters I was interested in. I would literally have never found anything out. But those are also, like, unlucky characters to like, do that with, right? So I don't know. It's the kind of thing where I really do just wonder if that's like a... Because when I was a kid and I was playing fighting games, I still was mad when I was losing, and I would still be mad at something that I thought was cheap. It's just I didn't have the solution look something up in my mind. I always just, like, thought, well, I'll pick the cheap thing, or, like, this one thing worked once, so maybe I'll try to do that every time. Or it's just like, you know, the next time I play with that person is in a month, so I've forgotten or they've forgotten.
Yeah. A lot of my memories of playing in that kind of middle school meta kind of environment was with Virtua Fighter 5, because myself and my brother's friends and my friends, we would all play that game. And me, not having fully grasped the idea of how fighting games work yet, I just thought, you know, it's the typical thing that most people think, is that combos are everything. And so if you know combos, you're good at fighting games. And so...
Wow, your middle school meta was
No, that's not the middle school meta. That was me.
I didn't have an idea of a combo yet.
that wasn't the middle school meta thing. That was just me thinking, like, this is how you get good at fighting games, right? But that wasn't it. It was, the combos were never really a thing. It was mainly just like, I don't know, press buttons and maybe something is good. So when we played with my friends, I would pick my main, one of the assassin characters who never kills anyone, kind of like any other character in a fighting game who is...
Ineffective assassin.
It's a trope, because there are a lot of ineffective assassins in fighting games.
Yeah.
But my favorite character, aside from Vanessa Lewis, who I did play as well, was Lei Fei. Lei Fei is a Shaolin monk who is tasked with killing another character named, what's his name? Lao Chan, because he is the sole practitioner of a lost style that is too dangerous to let live. And so he is supposed to kill him. But because he's such an evil, power-hungry monk man, I don't know how evil and Shaolin monk came together, but apparently Lei Fei is that. He wants to wants to learn Koenken, or the Tiger Swallow Fist, that Lao Chan knows before killing him so that he has the deadliest style, right?
Shit, but then he's the one hunting.
Yeah, but no one will know, because, the person...
What do you mean no one will know? I thought it just makes you evil.
But he killed the Grand Master. No one could possibly know the Tiger Swallow Fist anymore.
Wait, who's the police who knows they actually are very good at it? Do they also know it?
I don't think so. The other thing is that I don't understand what the point... Why would they use a fighting tournament in order to try to kill someone? Why would... I mean, it's a way to get them...
Just hire one of these assassin characters, man.
But they had to kill the... Do they have to kill... That's another thing that I never really was clear on in the Virtua Fighter story was, are they supposed to kill them in a tournament match, or, in between matches?
I don't know, man.
But... This is all to say that, when I was playing with my friends, combos hardly matter. Combos didn't matter because I just got frustrated because I wasn't able to land my combos because people were just zoning me out. One of my friends, who played the game with me, he would use the big Canadian pro wrestler man, who's apparently also Native American, Wolf Hockfield.
Yeah.
He is a pro wrestler. And he didn't even use any of the grapples. He just used his really giant kick.
Just big smacks.
Yeah, and I would just be, well, I can't do my combos, what the hell? And I got really mad, because, I wasn't able to land my combos, and I was just getting beaten by this guy. And I thought I was really good, because I knew combos. But I couldn't land them.
That does mean you're really good, that's true.
Yeah, so,
10-year-old me would 100% be convinced.
In our middle school meta, Wolf Hockfield was really good, because he had giant buttons.
Yeah, man. Yeah, in middle school, I think I played, Brawl and, Soul Calibur 4, I think. And in Soul Calibur 4, everyone thought Yoda was busted.
Yeah, because he's tiny.
And I honestly still have that opinion. You can't hit him, dude.
It's possible that he is.
It's too annoying.
It's like Odd Job in GoldenEye, and things like that.
In, Soul Calibur 4, I played Keelik.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone hated Keelik. I had a big stick.
Yes.
They couldn't get to me because I had a big stick. And one of your buttons that you pressed was just an auto-hitting 3-hit combo. And it was brutal. It was a mid-low-high. It just did it when you did it was like a normal, or a command normal or something. And so that was just no one could defend against it. And it was it was kind of fast, so, people who don't know fighting games, that's very hard to punish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just man, I was undefeatable on Keelik, so people thought the best characters were Keelik and Yoda in that game. Until my neighbor also started playing the game a lot, and he started playing Nightmare, and he kind of learned how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
But he also really sucked at blocking, so it was, actually kind of even.
Makes sense.
Because it'd just be me using that move, or, maybe grabbing every once in a while, because grabbing is the coolest animation I know how to make the game do. It's just me grabbing and doing that one move, and him, kind of knowing how to play Nightmare, but, really not able to block the thing. That was the Soul Calibur 4 meta. Soul Calibur 4 was way less popular than Smash, so... No one else who would come to these things ever wanted to play Soul Calibur 4, because it'd just be me and my neighbor who would win everything.
What the heck is Soul Calibur? Where is it?
Yeah, no one knows who that is.
Yeah. Who is the Soul Calibur?
Who's John the Soul Calibur?
Yeah, who is the Soul Calibur? Which one of these guys is the Soul Calibur?
Yeah.
Wasn't Geralt of Rivia from Soul Calibur?
No, he's from
probably.
The Witcher. Wait, okay, you're being facetious. Never mind.
No, I think John Assassin Creed was from Soul Calibur too.
I was actually pissed that you thought that Geralt from Rivia was from Soul Calibur.
Isn't Darth Vader from Soul Calibur?
He is,
too?
yeah. Before he was just there, and suddenly they made an entire, and then they went back in time and made an entire movie franchise about him.
Yeah. My funny fun fact is the Apprentice was in Soul Calibur before the Apprentice video game.
Was it?
The Last Apprentice, yeah.
Or The Force Unleashed or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had the sneak peek.
Well, that's kind of like.
But he was also awful to unlock. So.
Well, it's kind of like Roy in Melee, because the Binding Blade wasn't out when Melee dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Roy was in there to promote Melee, to promote it,
yeah.
Same with like Corrin in Smash 4. I mean, Fire Emblem Fates had already dropped in Japan, but worldwide, Fates wasn't out yet, so it was essentially the same thing.
So it was the first site, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, it's like, I think the Smash Brothers game where then I, like, actually started becoming someone who kind of knew stuff about fighting games and, like, cared more about them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was when, what was the Smash Brothers that came after Brawl called?
I think that was just 4.
Was it just the Wii U or 3DS or something?
I think it's been abbreviated as 4.
Smash 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that game came out is when I started, like, actually caring and understanding about fighting games and the whole, middle school meta, whatever, breaks down. Because then I had it on my 3DS, and it's just like...
It's so much easier to play.
I didn't know anyone else who took fighting games seriously at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd bring my 3DS to lunch, and people would play with me pretty often, and I firmly remember that it was illegal for me not to random.
Mm.
Because if I picked who I wanted to play, I would just literally always win.
Yeah.
This isn't a flex on my skill. You understand if you play with someone who just really doesn't understand what fighting game strategy means.
Yeah.
I don't mean this in any bragging way, but I literally would just win every time.
Mm-hmm.
Often even when I'm randoming.
Yeah, I feel
and so it just turned into I needed to be like 2v1 or 3v1, and then it was fairly even.
I feel like this is like a common category where of people who know how to play the game but aren't good enough to like go professional with it, but they're good enough to beat all their friends.
Yeah, I mean, how do I put it? I think I think if you are at that point where you're often beating friends who don't know what they're doing, you're good enough to go to a tournament. Because
you can go to a locals. It's
you have to understand that going to a local is just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, don't get me wrong. I think I'm in that category. I don't think I would ever do well in a tournament. But it might be fun to do sometime. I've never done it myself because I'm not usually I'm not a huge fan of competition.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's I don't get a whole lot of excitement out of trying to beat someone, and often the extreme emotions in the context of a competition, like even casual things where we do at school that are a tournament, it always make me very uncomfortable how upset people would become when they lose.
Yeah.
So it's like just tournament doesn't mesh well for me as a person. I've done one online tournament for Rivals of Aether. And even then, I didn't like it that much.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a huge fan of the pressure. It's like I still love trying to get better at fighting games and playing it, but that kind of pressure doesn't suit me very well.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I guess, well, let's see. I went to a lot of FGC events back when we were in university. Well, yeah. And, I don't know, after a while it kind of just died out, because at some point it was... You just stand around for, especially if you were to like do the Smash bracket, you just stand around for like half an hour at a time waiting for your next match, play for 2 minutes, and then, then you're done.
Yeah.
And,
that is the worst feeling.
That's
I
how
used
it
to
is.
be on, it's kind of related, it's not fighting game, it's like a kind of competition. I used to be on the badminton team. The
bad man team.
I'm on the badminton team.
He's Soul Bad Guy? There's a team for Soul Bad Guy?
Oh my god, I can tell.
Put me on the Soul Bad Guy team.
I can't believe Soul Bad Guy was based off
Soul Bad Guy is such a dumb name. Ragnar the Blooded is so much better, isn't it?
Soul Bad Guy's actually based
Oh
on
my
that.
god. That's the one bad experience that I have with an FGC is some guy was dissing Soul Bad Guy and thinking Ragnar the Blooded was better. Ugh.
Yeah, so I was on the badminton team for high school, but I was not on, like, the official lineup. Like, I wasn't one of, like, the good players. I was kind of like the backup.
Mm-hmm.
You were like a sub, yeah.
Yeah, basically. So, there was, like, a competition with another school. It was in our high school, so they came to us. And there were matches happening all over the courts. And all I got to do that entire day was just watch matches and cheer them on. Like, here's my teammate, I'm gonna cheer them on.
Yeah.
Positive energy, something like that. But then it's like it's nearing the end, and I still haven't played. I know I'm a sub, but like they said, it's fine.
Yeah, the dream's still alive.
Yeah, there might be a
for a
chance
lot
to
of
get to
it,
play, and it just doesn't happen. I just end up spending entire time at the competition, just cheering on my teammates and watching everyone else play. It's just kind of
and it's not like you would do nothing because you'd still work hard at all those practices.
Yeah, it's not like I was slouching in practice. I'm still practicing with like all the people in the team.
Other kids were just better at it at that point.
Yeah, and I just didn't get to do anything in competition, and that just kind of killed it for me. I was like, I kind of don't want to go.
Yeah, that's a hard spot to be in. The only sports I ever did, you like have 100% participation event. Like I did the track team where you just do your event. Everyone does the events, you know. I did hurdles and long jump. I liked jumping. And I mean, you always get to go. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that.
You have to.
I got put into the relay once.
Yeah, I definitely like things that are more organized. That gives everyone a chance to participate.
Yeah,
because I was also in a swim class called DACA, and we would have usually maybe every month or two we'd have swim meets where like a bunch of different swim classes meet together and compete against each other, but it's more organized, as in you sign up for events you want to sign up for, and you're guaranteed a spot.
Yeah, that's how track works, pretty much.
I know a lot about this. I was a varsity swimmer in high school. Yeah, I was a butterflyer. There weren't a lot of me, so that's probably why I was on varsity, simply because
you were someone willing to do butterfly stroke.
My strongest event is the one that only varsity kids do, so I have to be on varsity, I guess. But I was good at it, all right?
I remember I had a swimming class when I learned butterfly stroke. I hated it.
Butterfly's so much fun. What are you talking about?
I hated it.
It's great.
My arms get tired. I love breaststroke. Breaststroke's my favorite.
Man, y'all a bunch of slacking ass. I don't know what to call you guys. But butterfly is where it's at. Butterfly is it's the greatest stroke of all time. It's the only way to swim.
I learned none of this in the context of swimming competition. I learned this in the context of like
the swim class.
However young I was going to a swimming lesson.
Yeah.
You know?
They had swim classes in my high school. When they taught, what's it called, flip turns?
I learned how to do flip turns. It was so much fun.
Too, huh?
I love
flip turns. Don't you? I'll diss butterfly. I will never diss flip turns. When I was dicking around in swimming class, I would practice flip turns when we were supposed to be doing nothing and get yelled at by the teachers. Flip turns are so much fun. You do a fucking front flip underwater, dude.
Yeah, for some reason, no one in my school that was inexperienced in swimming, they just could not do a flip turn for life.
Oh, I'm sure I wasn't good at them. It was fun.
It was just so funny to watch them. They try to attempt their flip turn. They get stuck halfway. They come back up, and they're like, "There's water in my nose."
Well, you guys have to
blow out.
Yeah, you gotta blow when you're facing up towards the surface. You gotta
blow
out.
Like 10 seconds. That's what they tell you. Like 10 seconds into like a swimming lesson.
If you don't do this, you're going to
nose.
drown. You're gonna get filled with water. So you gotta do this thing.
It was just so funny just watching.
Did either of you ever like bonk your head really hard on the wall and make yourself bleed?
Not to the point of bleeding. I have hit my head against the wall during like backstroke a couple times.
Yeah,
so.
only during backstroke, because you have to count your strokes.
You have to know your stroke counts.
Usually count your strokes from like the flags.
The flags.
There's always like flags positioned above you on each side of the pool, and you're supposed to. They teach you how to do. They teach you to count the number of strokes. Until you get to the wall, then you subtract that by 1.
When you want to do a flip turn, yeah.
Yeah, so you subtract that number by 1 when you want to turn over and do a flip turn. But usually sometimes I'm inconsistent with it. Because when you count it for real, it's like, I don't know, low stakes, you're just casually swimming, right, usually.
But in the middle of a race.
Right? Yeah, so in the middle of a race, your stroke count might be different. Because you're trying harder, you're maybe putting more emphasis into your strokes, that your stroke count might.
That's
get
why you need to
messed up
do
from
an effort stroke count, where you figure out how much it takes when you're putting effort into your swimming.
Like after
Yeah, it's
you,
actually
after you
funny
get
out of all the
first ball.
sports. Yeah,
Sorry,
out of
go
all
ahead.
the sports I played, I've definitely injured myself the above and beyond most in those swimming lessons I took as a kid. I bonked my head making myself bleed on the wall once or
I
twice.
have never bled during swimming.
I dove into the pool, got yelled at because it was in the shallows, and bonked my chin really hard at the bottom of the pool because it was super shallow. Oh, don't get me wrong, most of these were entirely my fault. I bonked my head on the wall when I was dicking around practicing kick flips. Not kick flips, turn flips.
Flip turns?
Yeah, flip turns.
Turn flips.
Dough?
Yeah, it's same thing. You get
sour bread dough?
Dough bread
dough
sour?
bread sour?
Sour? Dough?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Oh, that's actually correct.
I was also
Sourdough?
sprinting along the side of the pool and accidentally fell in when I was fully dressed. I did that once. That wasn't really an injury, but it felt bad.
Oh, you're lucky you didn't get hurt from that one. The pools are pretty slippery at the side.
I've
Right next to it.
also, while sprinting on the edge of the pool, I've tripped on my towel and landed on my face in the concrete.
Oh, jeez.
That was kind of unrelated to swimming. That was while running. I
That's
guess.
swimming adjacent.
Yeah, it was the swimming lesson's fault that I had the towel, I guess.
So it's swimming.
And it's funny because I did track and I did tennis and I so many less injuries. I was probably just older and less clumsy.
There's far less friction next to a swimming pool than there is on a track, though.
Yeah, that's why they tell you not to.
The track's specifically made to have traction when you run.
On track, I think the only time I injured myself bad is I fucked up my ankle landing a long jump, but it got better in 2 or 3 days.
Wait, also,
It
Ryan,
wasn't even a sprain, you know.
Ryan, are you not streaming?
Oh, I am not streaming, but no, I am. I'm recording at the very least. You don't have to.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you don't have
Big
to.
fan.
I'm recording it here now. I'm streaming on Discord. I don't know why you would mention that when. yeah, you can.
I just noticed it. What,
broke my
50 minutes
Yeah,
in?
you broke our immersion. Now we have to. You have to bring it. We have to.
I guess it's fucking time to end the episode.
We can't do it now. This is. Oh my god.
All right. Well, that was a lovely episode of BreakTime Podcast.
Serious?
Yeah, you can watch us every Sunday. Twitch TV, Shatterpoint Games, 2:30 p.m. PST. But don't worry, new episodes go up on Monday if you miss it. On YouTube, wherever you find your podcast. Follow us on Twitter, ShadowPointGS, if you want. Next week, we'll talk about whatever the hell we ever talk about.
I think it's Eric.
All right, break time over.
Yeah, you suck, Eric.
You like that ending?
God damn it.
I thought it was great.
Oh, you streaming? Well, I guess it's time to end the podcast.